good chunk of people spend their 20s on drugs, on alcohol, that your brain matures completely between the age of 20 and 30. It was kind of like lonely for people in their 30s because they were like, I don't have, there are people that have spent a whole decade feeling lost. Hey guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amboya and I make personal finance and personal development videos. So today I want to talk about something that has kind of been like bothering me but also very eye-opening, and it is the fact that I am in the last year of my 20s, which means that I've been on a quest to truly understand what my 20s have meant. Have they been successful? According to, I don't know, society, have I been successful or did I fail in my 20s? And that led me into stumbling upon the defining decade, why your 20s matter and how to make the most of them now. I'm not gonna go much into the book, but if you have not picked up this book and you're in your 20s, I would highly recommend that you take some time and read this book. And if you know anyone who is younger, they're still in their early 20s, please give them this book for Christmas or something, because I wished that I had really read this book earlier in my 20s, but still a great book to read. Now that you have a little bit of context as to why I'm making this video, let's get into it. So I am someone who believes that if there's an average for something, and if I am supposed to be part of that statistics, then I want to know if I am above average, or if I'm not, why that is. So I went into research mode and I was trying to understand what are some of the issues that an average 20-year-old deals with in their 20s that could either derail them or make them successful in their 30s and 40s. If you read The Defining Decade, it talks about how the decisions that you make in your 20s will probably affect you for the rest of your life. So if you make really good decisions in your 20s, you might reap the benefit of those decisions for the rest of your life. And if you make bad decisions, I'm not saying that you can't make up for those bad decisions, but it will take you longer to either make up for them, or you might never recover from those decisions that you made in your 20s because of so many other factors. But the most important one is that your brain matures completely between the age of 20 and 30. So sit with that first. It was just very interesting to really understand like how your brain really matures between that time period. And if you don't practice, if you don't really take advantage of that time to help you mature completely, then your 30s and 40s might be a little shaky because of that. Since I'm on YouTube, I started with YouTube and I was really reading comments from videos that speak to your 20s. I was watching people talking about their 20s, and I spent hours on just trying to figure out what are on average what are the 3 things that people deal with in their 20s that either derail them or make them successful. And this is what I found out. Most people spend a good chunk of their 20s dealing with mental health issues. And that is, societal expectations, fear of disappointing people, trying to figure out who you want to be, who you should be, what you should be doing, do you fit in, do people like you, and things like that. It was insane to see the amount of people that were talking about how they spent 6-7 years just really trying to understand who they are. And that was very eye-opening and also scary to see that there are people that have spent a whole decade feeling lost, completely lost, not feeling like they know what is going on in society or with their life. The second issue was a lot of people spent a majority of their 20s hustling, working really hard, and just focusing on money and work, that they never formed any sort of romantic or platonic relationships because they did not have time for that. They didn't have any fun all they did was work, and they were so scared of what the future, held for them, and so they just focused on making money. And I know people like this, and I really feel like that was a part of my life for a couple of years in my 20s where all I worked. I don't remember thinking about money, but I just thought you just constantly work. This part wasn't shocking as much because I felt like your 20s is where you kind of really hustle, go hard. You're still young, you work hard, you try different things, and then by the time you hit 30 or in your 30s, you kind of know who you are, you know what you like, you probably made some money and things like that. And I feel like that is what kind of society talks about, because most people are just oh, my 20s, I'm gonna work and make money, and then I will maybe settle down in my 30s or start enjoying life in my 30s. And nothing wrong with that, but it was kind of lonely for people in their 30s because they were I don't have great friendships, I don't have a partner or a relationship or a family, I don't know how to make friends, because when you also get older, it's harder to make friends. So that is the negative aspect of that. You just work, you don't have fun, and then you start regretting never having enjoyed things while you were younger. And the reason why I think you should enjoy things and you should try to make mistakes and you should not completely focus on work is when you're in your 20s, the mistakes that you make are forgivable. People are oh, okay, they are young, they're learning, and that's how you learn and you grow. But it's unfortunate if you're going to start making all these mistakes in your 30s and 40s and trying to learn how to make friends and trying to learn how to speak to people, or how to you're making mistakes the drinking habits and things like that. The third and last finding of my little research was that a good chunk of people spend their 20s on drugs, on alcohol, or partying. And so they make really bad health decisions and really bad financial decisions, that when they hit 30s and 40s, they are trying to make up for these things that they did in their 20s, but they become really anxious and stressed because some of their peers who made different decisions in their 20s are on completely different levels in life. And then that's when they get hit with depression, they get hit with trying to understand where they went wrong. But that's because in their 20s, they're literally drunk, on drugs, and just spending their money and barely holding a job, just doing whatever society kind of makes it feel oh, you're 21, you're supposed to just be getting drunk and spending the little money that you have and partying and doing all these things. And then you hit your 30s, 40s, and you're when should I have gotten a retirement account? When should I have started saving? When should I have learned about financial literacy and things like that? So it was very interesting to do this research for me, because I really wanted to see what does an average 20-something year old deal with. And these were the top 3 issues that people in their 20s deal with. So you're probably wondering what my conclusion was, and the answer is I don't know, because I don't think I can sit here and say my 20s were a failure or my 20s were successful, because there are decisions that I made that I think were great, and there are decisions that I made that I think I could have done better. And the circumstances I was dealing with were just completely different from what the next 20-something year old was dealing with. I was just thinking about, somebody who spent even a year just dealing with mental health issues or health issues. I think success to them means something totally different from what success would mean to me or someone else who spent, I don't know, a year just working hard and saving and investing their money. And I'm not speaking from just a financial sense, I'm just speaking from a personal human sense. Success means totally different things to different people. and the circumstances we deal with are just totally different. And for that reason, it's good if you make certain decisions that are really good in your 20s, but I don't think there is a reason to be very anxious about everything that happened in your 20s, because if there's one thing that I can comfortably or confidently say is that most of the things that happen in life are temporary. You could have made really bad decisions in your 20s that were not life-threatening, hopefully, and in your 30s you can choose a different path and go on to become something that you never even envisioned yourself becoming. You could have made really good decisions in your 20s, and in your 30s something happens that just messes up everything that you had spent your life building. So for that reason, I think everything is temporary, and it is very comforting to know that it is all temporary, because you know that at any point in life things can change, and they can change for the better or for the worse. But just knowing that things are temporary, it makes you feel better, because you're like, okay, at least I'm not doomed if I made really bad decisions, and I have the opportunity to pick myself up. Now, the picking yourself up part is where most of us fail at, because we fail to recognize that we have to put in work, and we have to really make decisions that will help us change the path that we had been on in life. To avoid sounding like a therapist or a counselor, which I'm not, I am going to end this video here. But if you have any thoughts about your 20s, please leave them in the comment section below. And if you are in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 70s, please leave your wisdom in the comment section below, because some of us would really benefit from hearing your thoughts and the things that you've discovered as you've grown older. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in another video.